Okay, I know I promised you that there's not gonna be like a lot of explanation of stuff. However, we should go a tiny bit to take a look on what's gonna happen and what's happening on the screen right now and such. When you first open your document, it should look something like this. This is set to be essentials. I don't know because I've been working with Adobe Illustrator for so long. However, I always like tweak a little bit what's happening on the screen. So first of all, I'm always expanding the toolbar because you have your toolbar in here. It's basically, again, I think it's called toolbar as well. I should know that as a user experience designer. Anyway, and on the right side, the tools continue. However, most of the time you're gonna be using these ones in here. That's why they are there. And the properties, layers, and libraries are very handy to have them on the right side so they know what they are doing when they set it like this. The first advice I will give you regarding the toolbar is learn the shortcuts. It's gonna make you effective 2000% more. Okay, I don't have a proof for the number, but you get the point. It's gonna be insanely more effective if you're using your one hand on your mouse and the second hand on the keyboard, so you can just switch between the tools seamlessly. It's much easier if you're from a country where you have QWERTY as a keyboard setting, because the shortcuts are based or created based on that keyboard, so they are much more better to use at hand. It's a little bit worse with our European weird setup, but it still works. I think the first most important tools that you're gonna need are these two arrows. This one, the one that is selected from the beginning, is the selection. It's called selection. Okay. By the way, each time you hold your mouse on any of the tools, they're gonna explain to you. However, this one, the selection, is very important and it's a shortcut V. Then you have the second mouse, that is direct selection. Okay, I will learn the names now. And it's a shortcut A. And these two are gonna be your best friends with working basically with everything. I'm gonna show you on an example. We're gonna create a flower. So I'm gonna be using my normal mouse and then this tool in here it's rectangle, but all the shapes are hidden underneath. So if you click and hold on the rectangle tool, you can see that there are a bunch of other shapes that are hiding underneath, but we're gonna go with the rectangle tool by now. So click on the rectangle tool and create a rectangle. You just click and drag it to your preferred size. Okay, now you can see that each time I hover around the edges, the arrows are showing, and this means that I can modify the rectangle. These tiny circles that you can see in the corners are for rounding the corners. So when you click and drag them, you are rounding the corners. This also works for different corners one by one. So another shortcut, Command Z, is for going to a step before. So when I round the corners and I don't want them to be rounded anymore, I go Command Z and it's gone, but it's back where it was before. And now I want to go back to the black mouse, so I can either go in here and click on it, or I can use the shortcut V, and I have it. So now I can select and move the object around. And as I promised you, we are gonna do something. So I'm gonna delete this one and again select the rectangle tool or M. And now, while I'm gonna be creating the rectangle, I'm gonna hold Shift. What's gonna happen is that the rectangle now becomes a square. The same thing works for the circle as well. So I wanna create a square. Now I'm going V, back to the selection. And when you hover around in here, you can see that now I can turn around the object. So I'm gonna click and move it, and now I'm moving it freely. However, if you hold Shift, it clicks on the grid. It stays on the grid, like it's not some random rotation. By the way, everything that is happening you can see in the properties, but I usually work like hands-on in here. Okay, now we have our cutesy schmutzy square, and I want it to look like a flower petal. So now what I'm going to do is I'm gonna click on one of the circles and then hold shift so that I can select another thing. So I'm gonna select a second one right across. So now I have selected the two circles, and when I move inside, I created a flower petal. I hope you did as well. Okay, and now I want to change the color of this object. So the colors you can see in here. Yeah, it's fill and stroke, like G, what a shot. I want the flower to be purple, so I'm gonna just pick the color in here. Okay, I picked the color. Click OK. And I think this is a little bit boring, so I want to do a gradient for the flower petal. So I'm gonna select it. You always have to have it selected, because if you don't have it selected, then you cannot do anything about the object. So I'm gonna select it, and I will choose the gradient in here in the fill. What's going to happen is that it fills with the basic gradient, and also this window pops up in here. If you accidentally close it, you can always go for a window, and in here you can see the gradient. Or if you cannot find where the thing that you're looking for is, this works only for MacBooks, I'm sorry, then you go for help and you just write down in here that I want a gradient, and you can see it shows you directly where you're supposed to go. Okay, now with the gradient settings, I want the gradient to be linear, but we also have like tons of other possibilities what can happen with them. This one is pretty nice, but let's keep it simple. So we go for a linear gradient, and I want it not to go from left to right, but from top to bottom or bottom to top. So I'm gonna set a 90 degrees in here. And I want the first color to be this pink and the second color to be purple. Oh yeah, pretty flower. Okay, so now we have set the gradient, and I will I'm going back to selection tool or V, and I feel like it needs to be a little bit smaller, so I'm gonna hold shift and size it down a little bit. Okay, and you can see that as I resized it, the corners resized as well. So if this is not something we want to happen, you can go to Illustrator, Settings, General, and in here you can check or uncheck scaling corners and strokes and effects. However, I'm gonna keep it as it is because I'm pretty used to it by now. Alrighty, so now I want a second copy of this flower petal. You can do it by Command C and Command V, however, it's kind of like long. It takes long and blah blah. So I can hold Option or Alt in Windows, and you can just drag it down. Now, again, you can see I can move it freely. I'm still holding the Option, by the way, but if I hold Shift as well, it goes to a grid, so it doesn't like just jump around. And I want to keep it somewhere like in, let's say, here. Okay, now I put my hand out of it. And it's nice, but I would like to be a reverse, so I'm gonna again rotate it like this. And now I will select both of them. You can either manually select, or you can just drag this selection rectangle around all the objects, and everything that's gonna be touched is gonna be selected. Remember this. Okay, and I'm gonna group these two petals together so that I can align them on the screen. So I go Command or Control G, and now I will go in here for Align panel, and I'm gonna align it to middle and the middle. In here you are setting to which part of the screen you are aligning it to. We are aligning to artboard, that's what I want. So it's middle and middle. Don't forget to select it, otherwise nothing happens. Okay, so now I select these two, and we are going to go click on the right click of the mouse, And let's go for transform and rotate. Now in here, always check the preview so that you can actually see like how it's gonna be changing. And I want it to be rotated by, let's say, 350. And I'm gonna go copy because I don't want only 2 petals in there. I want like more of them. Okay, so I did. And now you can see that I have 2 of them and they rotated a bit slightly. Now, each time you want to repeat anything you have done in Adobe Illustrator or like any movement or rotation or flipping something or whatever, you go with Command and D. This is gonna be repeating the last thing you did. The last thing I did is I rotated it a little bit, and now when I go Command and D or Control D a lot of times, now I have a flower. And it's a little bit crazy, but it looks really nice. Okay, I will select all of them and I'm gonna set them some kind of a line because it's gonna look very pretty. So we have, I always forgot stroke. Yeah, this is a stroke. And you can see that it looks really interesting. However, if you want it to look a little bit more like a real flower, in the rotation, we can just go to transform rotate and make it a little bit more further. This is too much further, like this. Okay, you see? And now I go, and now it looks really like a real flower. Yeah, so that's basically it. This is the intro for a few of the tools. So we covered selection, precise selection, creating an object, moving, rotating the object, aligning the object, changing color, changing stroke. We have a lot of stuff, guys, in here. Like, that's your basic orientation in the Adobe Illustrator. And you can see, you can create a lot of stuff with just a bunch of simple tools. And then you can build up on those because the program is really like constructed high level because it's for professional graphic designers. So it takes time, it takes years, and each time you learn you think you learned everything, they add a new feature so that you can learn something more. Okay, so that's about it for this video and see you later. Bye!